ครับสวัสดีครับนะแต่2 วันเลยนะครับวันเสาร์อาทิตย์เลยอะไรที่ผมจะเป็นผู้ชายแต่ขอเสียงผมขอสตีเป็นyou have computer? Yes, and then I don't mind this one. Please, you are just handy drive. Where is handy drive? Handy drive.
Yes, one guy. Trikaya. ST. Trikaya Dr. India.
This one.
Yeah.
Share ผ่านจะต้องแชร์ผ่านไอ้นี้ด้วยนะครับจะสูงจะโอเคนะ
Nasib. Oh, Victoria.
City. Just introduction.
Yes.
First procedure
Okay.
so
Okay.
after you watch from you and then
Hand over to me.
yeah what you do and then
You.
interpret the translation summary.
Summary. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yes, yes. Change.
Sorry, because I
330 it became 350. No problem. Take it relax. Nothing that serious. Okay. Thank
ค่ะสวัสดีทุกท่านอย่างเป็นทางการอีกครั้งนะคะวันนี้อาจจะขอเป็นภาษาอังกฤษเพราะว่าทักสปีกเกอร์เป็นภาษาอังกฤษนะคะถ้าหนูผิดพลาดขออภัยค่ะ Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Thai Art Cultural Lodge, together with the Sanskrit Study Center, Faculty of Archaeology, Singapore University. It is my great honor to welcome you all to our home Thai Cultural Lodge on the special lecture, The Development of Trikaya Doctrine in Mahayana Buddhism. We are truly privileged to have distinguished guests and scholars with us this evening. To formally open session, may I invite Associate Professor Jiraphat Panvitya, former President of the Thai Cultural Lodge and advisor to the Sanskrit Study Center Faculty of Archaeology, Singapore University, to deliver his opening remarks, please.
ต่อไปนี้จากยืนตรงนี้กับที่ตั้งแต่ตลอดเลยดีกว่าแต่ที่เรา
Namaskar, Ante Pannaloka from Sri Lanka. It's a great honor to have you with us today to speak on the development Trikaya of the Mahayana Buddhism. On behalf of Thai Cultural Lodge, we welcome you and thankful for accepting to deliver a lecture. The relationship between Thailand and Sri Lanka way back in 12th century, quite Sukhothai period. We have one monk, Sri Satha from Sukhothai, who went to Sri Lanka during Sukhothai period, and he visited the Wadinagala stupa, that means Amaravati at present, before going to Sri Lanka, and he spent some time there in Sri Lanka visiting different places. And there is an inscription talking about this story, a long one, very interesting. And before that, the relationship between Thailand and Sri Lanka was there. We have an inscription in a cave, Narai cave, talking about Anuradhapura. The ruler of Anuradhapura sent some representative for a festival, but the inscription is in Mon language, because at that time the Thai people were not here in this place. So again, another inscription at Prachinburi, Nursabua. We talk about the words from the Telakata Gatha. So it means that we have a very long-standing relationship between both countries before Thai and during the Thai period. And also it is mentioned in a Buddha footprint in Sukhothai period of one God who is the protector God of Sri Lanka, that is Chaturangama. So it was very famous in Thailand during one occasion. This is Chaturangama from Sri Lanka. This is one of the four gods who protect Sri Lanka. So now we have a chance to listen from the scholarly lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, Jiraphat Panvitya. And next, I would like to invite the speaker on the stage, and I would like to give the shawl, the traditional Thai shawl, to the speaker.
แต่ว่า
ที่ว่า
ก็มีอยู่
Thank you very much. And then invite Associate Professor Dr. Sombat Mangni Suksiri, the Director of the Sanskrit Study Center, to share a few words.
respected Professor Wadinagala, and also and our audience here and in the online streaming in our Facebook. On behalf of the Facility Center and Mahayana Lodge, and really honored by Ande Pannaloka from Sri Lanka, who give us the opportunity to give to deliver his lecture on the very important, that is the Trikaya doctrine in the Mahayana Buddhism. That is quite difficult for Thai people because actually Thai people are Theravada Buddhists. So for Mahayana Buddhism, it's not familiar with us. But today we have Tante Pannaloka with us. He has been in Taiwan for 12 years. He studied Mahayana Buddhism and he came back to Sri Lanka and become the permanent lecturer now, professor in Kelaniya University. So today I'm very happy to have him with us, and now may I invite Tante to deliver your lecture, please.
What is here? How to use this share?
Okay, essentially.
Big and yes. Okay, okay, give it.
Stop sharing first.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, I'm so happy to be here. Actually, even though I am not familiar with this place, but with Professor Sombat, Professor Utain and Urji, Prapandavidya, Chirapat Prapandavidya, and today he's not here, Professor Kangwal.
Yeah.
So all are my great friends. And always it is a great pleasure to be in Thailand because this has, as Professor said, since 12th century AD, we have long-standing relationship between Sri Lanka and India. And a few days ago, I was happened to make a presentation at Silpakorn University's conference about the contribution of Thai Upali Mahathera to the development of or the revival of Buddhism. Always these two countries had been exchanging support mutually. I think not only religion, but also diplomatically, there had been better. Had been relations continuously. So I feel at home when I am in Thailand. I like actually. So somehow I got chance to stay a few more days here. So I think I thought that if I can join this sort of activity, it would be much meaningful to interact with the Thai community. So today my topic is that the doctrine of Kai doctrine in Mahayana Buddhism. this this which one? Click this.
This one.
This one. Okay. This one. Right there. Okay. So this doctrine, if I try to first give a brief introduction to the main idea of this teaching, actually Trikaya doctrine basically intends, its meaning is that the Buddha has three forms of bodies. So what are those three forms of bodies? One is called Nirmanakaya, and the other is Sambhogakaya, and the last one, third one is the Dharmakaya. So this development of the Buddha's body or his personality had been continuing for several centuries, and two different Buddhist sects, not one sect, several sects, schools have contributed to reach the final form of the doctrine. These three forms of Buddha bodies is a kind of fulfillment for some needs that arose in the Buddhist community or Buddhist practitioners. We learn that when we read the Mahaparinibbana Sutta in the Pali tradition, as well as in the Mahayana tradition, there is Mahayana Mahaparinibbana Sutta. Of course, the major contents are different in these two texts, but they have some common point. That is, what happened after Buddha was dead? What happened to us? We become helpless without the Buddha. When the Buddha was alive, he came to guide us. He was our protection. But now he is no more. So then what we can do? In the Pali version, in Mahaparinibbana Sutta, Buddha's advice to the monks was Sutta and Vinaya is the guidance for you. And my teaching will be the teacher for you. And but in the Mahaparinibbana, in the Mahayana Mahaparinibbana Sutta has different story, totally different story. It means it brings like that, okay, of course, the Buddha was physically passed away, but Buddhas remain forever in the universe. So, because it says that in China, when especially this Mahayana Mahaparinibbana text was translated into Chinese at a time that people thought it is the end of the world, like apocalypse is approaching. So to console that it does not happen such a thing. Apocalypse is not coming soon. To console the world, the Chinese translation was done. So this says that something about the why we need to have this kind of idea. So actually, in this case, Theravada tradition has not gone that far, but it was in the hands of the Mahayana teachers that they developed this teaching. It means that they transformed, especially the Dharmakaya, the last body, into a eternal and a source of every phenomenon. This is very, in Buddhist tradition, in early tradition, we see that we don't trace back to any single source as the origin or the source of phenomena. We don't have that idea, but there is a shift in the Buddhist tradition. It says that especially the scholars who research on this doctrine, that because of the anatta doctrine or shunyata, we feel something nihilistic view. We deny everything. But it is not for everybody. But people want something positive. Therefore, this dharmakaya, especially the dharmakaya concept, says that there is something positive, never ever come to end. It is the eternal source, eternal light, eternal guide. So then it becomes that even though the Buddha was physically, the Buddha passed away, but this Dharmakaya is with us. It is sometimes it is some definitions are there. It is the pure mind. Dharmakaya is pure mind, chitta. Our chitta, original chitta is the Dharmakaya. How it is original, we have to explain. But the answer is here. So in one sense that it has an ontological explanation for through the Dharmakaya body. On the other hand, with this development, there is another interpretation that mythologically there was a continuous attempt in the Buddhist society to elevate the Buddha's personality, because it was his wisdom. His wisdom was, of course, wonderful. He has given a lot of ideas of his teachings, very intellectual and subtle, and it is, of course, liberational. How this much teachings can come from an ordinary person? This is the question. So the Buddha was he? Of course, we say Buddha was another human being, but the devotees were not happy with this simple image of the Buddha. So in the suttas, we find in many places, I think in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta itself, that says, Buddha says that now my body is like a chariot, bullock cart, which is worn out. Buddha didn't, and Buddha suffered all the physical difficulties which we have. So, but his wisdom was unchallengeable. His wisdom was unchallengeable. So, made this to think Buddha as an extraordinary personality. And in some places in the Sutta Nikaya, in the Sutta Pitaka of the Pali tradition, also we find that Buddha, yes, says that in once one Brahmin met the Buddha and asked that whether you are a human or a god or a Brahma, what you are. Then Buddha's answer was, I am not any of these. I am the Buddha. So in this kind of references gives some idea to think that Buddha was something beyond ordinary humanity. And that is one thing about his personality. On the other hand, actually I find when I study this doctrine, these teachings finally can be traced back to the ideas of early Buddhism. One idea is actually the doctrine of Paticcasamuppada. But the thing is that doctrine of Paticcasamuppada in early Buddhism do not try to figure out a kind of one source, something eternally existing. That kind of noumenon is not pursued in early Buddhist doctrines. But maybe that the Buddhists who were continuously trying to propagate and preserve this teaching, I think they were forced to go beyond this early Buddhist thinking. And they had to, I think, that speculate. Of course, Nibbana is not annihilation. It is not eternity, but it cannot be, basically it is, we can't explain one who attained with in the terms using that exist or do not exist. But finally, one thing is there, that this is not annihilation. So if Nibbana is an annihilation, so then it is materialism. It become a materialistic approach, nihilistic approach. But Buddhism is not so. So then what happened after attaining Nibbana? What kind of thing is this Nibbana? This kind of questions came. And I think on the other hand, there was maybe some interactions between Buddhism and Hinduism or Brahmanism, Vedic Upanishadic Brahman philosophy. And somehow, so Buddhists, without violating the essential idea, but they try to come out with some philosophical formulations that can answer that we are not going to be destroyed. There is something existing. So I think that further thinking about the Paticcasamuppada, because but I was thinking about this, actually, if we go beyond the general explanation that, of course, Paticcasamuppada has a formula, twofold formula. So one explains how the phenomena arises, and the other aspect is how phenomena comes to cease when the causality is negated gradually. So this is the basic thing that we find as helpful for our liberation in the early Buddhism. But when it is connected with some deeper speculative thinking, actually it is possible to give rise to this kind of things, because as I have quoted here, okay, one thing is that Buddha himself says that he is, if someone sees the Dhamma, that he sees the Paticcasamuppada. And in one place, he says, if someone sees the Dhamma, and then he sees the Buddha. So then, like, if I think if you use that logic A, B, C, so I think that there is we can build the connection. It means Dhamma is finally the Buddha. Because what makes the Buddha a Buddha? That is the question. Not his physical appearance. So then what makes the Buddha is his enlightenment. His enlightenment is the most important thing. So then what is this enlightenment and the nature of enlightenment, what he pursues through the enlightenment, these things, we have some information that Buddhahood means that in the early text that it says Tevijja, three kind of science is the whole knowledge that Buddha got. Pubbē nivāsānusati ñāna, Paracitta Vijnana ñāna, and Asavakkhya ñāna. Only three knowledges are mentioned at the beginning in the Majjhima Nikaya text. So many places that when he described his enlightenment experience. Later on, of course, there was some further development. Chalavinya concept came, 6 knowledges, 6 kind of knowledges, etc. It went up until omniscience. Even actual omniscience was not accepted in early stage, but they denied what kind of omniscience. So somehow this thinking, I think it leads to formulate or to generate some new ideas. We can, based on the Paticsamuppada, how Paticsamuppada, because Buddha says, Titavasadatu, Dhamma Titata, Dhamma Niyamata. Buddha says what? Whether the Buddhas appear in the world or not, this Dhamma exists, this dhatu or this element or this principle exists. What is that? Paticsamuppada. So idapacchita, that means the causally conditioned arising. Things arise due to causal conditioning, mutual support. So if this exists, so can't we extend it to that kind of dharmakaya, which means that reality. Dharmakaya, the word, is translated as, several translations are there. One is actually dharmakaya is suchness or thusness, tatata, bhuta tatata. Tatata is the reality. So what is the reality? Reality is Paticsamuppada. And what early Buddhism says about Paticsamuppada is Pitavasa dhatu Dhamma Chitta Dhamanyamita. Tathagata Upadava Tathagatana and Upadava Tathagata. So whether the Buddhas, there's no relation with Paticsamuppada and the Buddha. Buddha did not, Buddha only a discoverer. It is the teaching. But this dhatu, this Paticsamuppada process exists forever. So it is, I think, behind this kind of reasonings must have happened at that time. So then they formulated using different terminology which were available at that time. So I think this Trikaya doctrine, it has many ideas inside, but most important thing for me is actually this ontological interpretation of the Dharmakaya. Because the Buddha's Dharmakaya is the realization of this Dharma. So what is the Dharma? Dharma is the reality. What he realizes is what exists. What exists? Exists is this process. So this is quite interesting when you think. And okay, let's go to some slides. And that is the important part. On the other hand, see the deification of the Buddha, that we said that the Buddhists wanted to elevate Buddha into a god or divine being. So that process also actually was not a sudden appearance in the Buddhist literature, but in the early texts, means in the Pali Suttas itself, we can see in the Pali tradition two forms of the Buddha concept. One is that historical ordinary being. And the other hand, we can see that Theravadins or the Pali tradition also try to give some superhuman appearance characteristic to the Buddha. In one sutta, we can see that I think in the Bahudhataka Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, one ascetic came, Buddha also came to that place. They were in the same rest house at that night in India. So then the other ascetic, they were talking, and then he said with the Buddha, I became a monk. I left my home life in order to become a Sravaka or the disciple of the Buddha. Then the Buddha asked, have you seen the Buddha? And if you, okay, he said, no. If you see him, can you recognize the Buddha? He said, no, I can't. So then the Buddha asked that, okay, then they discuss about those elements. Bahudhatu means many, Patalia, Tejo, and sense, all those difficult topics. There is a kind of classification in that text. And after the Buddha explained the reality, it means Khanda Dhatu, Ayatana, etc., as the elements. Oh, then that ascetic realized this is the Buddha. So what this is for us? For me, actually, it means okay. Here I have. You can see that italicized words. Asiti Anuyanjana, 80 minor marks, and 32 great marks. That is Mahapurusha Lakhana. So they were not that visible. They were not that visible to that ascetic, that young ascetic. So Buddha, the Buddha historical is actually very normal. Buddha, but we can see in the suttas. I will show you how in early Buddhism this developed later. So therefore, this we can see in the Nikaya itself, starting from the Nikaya till Yogacara tradition. Okay, till Yogacara. So Nikaya tradition, then the sectarian period, different Buddhist sects were emerging, and then the Madhyamika, and the last Yogacara. Actually, Yogacara tradition is the one who completed this doctrine. They added Rupakaya and Dharmakaya, starting from the Pali Nikaya and Pali tradition exist. Sambhogakaya, it is marginally mentioned, it says, scholars say, but I couldn't find the reference in the Sautrantika text. Very marginal. But Nagarjuna, when it came to Madhyamika tradition, Nagarjuna only referred to two doctrines. It means Rupakaya and Dharmakaya. And only the Asanga's time, Asanga, Acharya Asanga in Mahayana Sangraha, in his, I think in the 10th chapter of the Mahayana Sangraha, he talks about in full detail about the Trikaya concept. So Trikaya concept, if we historically examine, it is the perfection reaches with the rising of Yogacara tradition. Until then, this was developing. So in this development, this seed of the development, we can find starting from the early Buddhism, because that we can see in early Buddhism itself, first Buddha in one sutta, Vacchagotta Sutta, denies the omniscience, but later Buddha is called as Sabbaya. We all accept the word Sabbaya. So they, like then this Asiti Anuyanjana, etc. And also there was an attempt going on to make the Buddha not as an individual or single occurrence in this universe. This is not the only one who became the Buddha. First, this Buddhist tradition tried to show that Buddha is not one. These three forms of Buddha is how to say same Buddha, but different appearances. Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Dharmakaya. All these are different manifestations of the same Buddha. This is very, that it was not actually in early Buddhism, there's no such an idea, but finally it was interpreted by the Yogacara and those traditions to that extent. So, but some seeds we can find in the, because I will go to the, yes, here, this sutta is very important when we examine these ideas. According to the Mahapadana Sutta, this is in the Majjhima Nikaya, sorry, Digha Nikaya. Okay, first there was only the Buddha, and actually in Pali tradition, Bodhisattva idea developed only in the Khuddaka Nikaya. Bodhisattva is only our Buddha, no many Bodhisattvas. 6 years of the Buddha's research or the spiritual seeking was the Bodhisattva period. And Buddha is, this time he arose. But in the Mahapadana Sutta, the first time, it says that our Buddha is in near past, the seventh Buddha, and eighth Buddha is coming, that is Maitreya, that is, here it says that Vipassi, Siki, Vesabu, Kakusanga, Konagama, Kasa. These 6 Buddhas were before the Gautama Buddha. Now present is Gautama Buddha, and in future, it is not mentioned in the Mahapadana Sutta, but in the Chakravarti Sihanada Sutta, that Maitreya or Metteya Buddha will come. So then it means that it transformed the idea that yes, our Buddha is not single, or how to say that kind of mere occurrence here, but it is Dhammata. And it says, more interesting, this certain episodes or some realities of the life of the Buddha was transformed into the idea that these are something special phenomena related to the life of the Buddhas. Here I will say that you can see it is the rule that when a Bodhisattva has entered his mother's womb, she has no sickness of any kind. She is at ease and without fatigue of body, and she can see Bodhisattva inside her womb, complete with all his members and faculties. These ideas, of course, today we can see, I think, because of the machine, the development of the baby. But at that time, 2000 years, 2500 or more years ago, this not. But here you can see that some new ideas are coming here. And it says that Bodhisattva, if it is the Bodhisattva, then one is ready to become the Buddha. So then his mother and monks, here that body, regarding that, it makes not an ordinary being. Monks, it is as if a gem, very pure, excellent, well cut into 8 facets, clear, bright. So many words are there, white or orange form. So this idea actually later developed in the Lalita Vistara, that is a Sarvastivada text. It says that mother's womb was like a golden cage, and Buddha was not, or the Bodhisattva was not touched by impurities of the mother's womb. It was like living in a golden cage. So, but here also in the early Buddhism itself, that divinization and making the Buddha's personality something different from the ordinary being, starting from his birth, is going on. And it says that it is the rule that the Bodhisattva's mother dies 7 days after his birth and is reborn in the Tusita heaven. So we learn that Gautama Buddha's mother was passed away after 7 days of his birth. And here it says that not only the Gautama Buddha's mother, every Buddha's mother should die after 7 days of the birth, giving birth to the Buddha, Bodhisattva. So it is a universal phenomenon, not only for one Buddha. And 32 marks of great man. This idea also in this, because of the merits. Somehow with all these things, but Theravada tradition was always trying to maintain, not to elevate too much, but to finally saying that Buddha is human. Buddha, even though he possesses these 32 marks and 80 minor marks and these intellectual capacity, but still he's a man. this idea was not deleted from the Theravada tradition like other traditions. Here, Buddha was in the 5th century AD. The great commentator from India to Sri Lanka, who translated the Sinhala commentaries into Pali. In the Visuddhimagga, it is the Bhagava, who is possessed of the beautiful Rupakaya, adorned with 80 minor signs and 32 major signs of a great man, and possessed of a Dharmakaya, purified in every way and glorified by Sila Samadhi and Panya, full of splendor and virtue, incomparable and fully awakened. So here we can see that, of course, the Pali tradition also has accepted the two bodies, Rupakaya and Dharmakaya. Actually, this Dharmakaya, this term is interpreted in many ways. Mainly, Dharmakaya represents the Buddha's understanding, the collection of the teaching. That is the Dharmakaya. This word Kaya has the sense of the collection. So then Rupakaya is no problem, but Dharmakaya finally went to that ontological essence or something like that. And there was this gradual development we can see after the Nikayan period. We know that in the 2nd century, in the 2nd century from the Buddha's death, Sangha divided into two schools, Mahasangiti and Staviravada. So then Mahasangiti had been more active in elevating the Buddha's position. So according to them, actually Buddha's body and Buddha's mind both are pure. It is not, the body also not affected by anything. And it had the idea that Buddha's every word is the Dhamma. It is leading to Nibbana. But Theravadins had not accepted. Staviravada had not accepted. Maybe if it was the case, then every people should attain Nibbana, but it did not happen so. They had counter arguments. And Rupakaya of the Buddha has no limits. His majestic power has no limits. Every Buddha's life is unlimited. A Buddha knows no fatigue. According to Mahasangika school, Buddha does not feel fatigue or tiredness. But in the early Buddhism, there is a very famous discourse for Buddhists, for anyone who studies Pali canon. Only 10 minutes. Oh, not enough actually. So then it says that Buddha's body is free from fatigue. But I know that in the Madhupindika Sutta, in the Majjhima Nikaya, Buddha comes to the Dhamma hall and Buddha says about the sense perception, just a topic. And then Buddha says, my backbone gives some pain to me. So I can't talk today. I must go and rest. Then he asked Venerable Mahakachan, please you explain what I said in short. You can give me in detail. So then Buddha went to his restroom. He went to his dwelling place. So, but we can see later this Buddhist, this Mahasangiti school, it says they were much bhakti oriented. They were so pious for the Buddha. So then they tried to remove these human elements and elevate the Buddha into a level which is not human. Okay. Actually, there are so many passages which came. Okay, in this sutta is important. This Lalita Vistara. Lalita Vistara is significant, where the first time the word Nirmana Kaya happens. In the three bodies, Nirmana Kaya and Sambhoga Kaya and Dharma Kaya, this word first time, this text is the one to use the Nirmana Kaya. What is the Nirmana Kaya? It says that Buddha appears in different forms, or the Bodhisattvas appears in different forms in order to help the sentient beings, especially not the Bodhisattvas, other Kritajjana, normal beings. to help them, to liberate them. Buddhas appear in various forms. Buddha maybe appear as a doctor, or maybe a saint, or maybe in the Mahayana text, it is said that once Buddha came in the form of a dog in front of the Asanga to convince that Buddha was with him forever, even though Asanga could not see the Buddha. So it means that under the concept of Nirmanakaya, it says that Buddha can appear in various forms. But this Nirmanakaya is not reality. It is Lalita. It is sport. Lalita means professor. Lalita means sport, game. So Vistara has, I don't know, it is like description, or Vitthara. So then somehow this Lalita Vistara says, whatever we saw as the historical Buddha is not true. It is only some kind of manifestations to convince. That is called Lokanvartana. Buddha also wanted to show that I am also like you. So he was born in Devi Maya's womb, and then he was born and he married and he left the house, practiced 6 years and attained the Buddha. And even the Buddha's life, that full of calamities, problems, struggles with people. I mean, people came to struggle with the Buddha, not the Buddha went with that. So then it makes the sense that, oh, Buddha is like us. So in order to give that idea, it means we also can, like the Buddha, striving for attaining enlightenment, Buddha comes in the form of Nirmanakaya. So Nirmanakaya's function is to convince that ordinary people, Buddha is also like one of us. And if we practice, then we also can attain his attainment. To give this sense, Buddha comes in Nirmanakaya. The Jataka stories, it is said, actually in the Mahayana tradition, Jataka stories are, the perspective of Jataka stories is different from Pali tradition. They think, actually, that is not the Bodhisattva. According to Pali tradition, that is the Bodhisattva, before the enlightenment. But for the Mahayana tradition, sometimes it is interpreted, they are like Nirmana, the Buddha in different forms to save the different beings. Of course, we know that liberational stories are many in the Jataka stories. So that was the Buddha who came. Because according to this Trikaya doctrine, Buddha had become a Buddha, or the Adi Buddha, or some words are there, many, many years ago. He just came to teach the human world. It is only a mere show for the people. That is the Trikaya doctrine's perspective of the Nirmanakaya and the Buddha. But for us, it is not. So, the practice, because of actually this Nirmanakaya and Sambhogakaya, both have relation with the Buddha's merit, and he accumulated karma. And it has function. That function is Nirmanakaya is to teach the people, ordinary people. He revealed himself in the right place and in the right moment. He acted rightly. These bodily forms are called the Nirmanakaya of the Tathagata. So this Nirmanakaya can go into destruction. Nirmana serve the ordinary beings in the universe. Buddha in the form of creative body may change the form to meet and need of sentient beings. This shows that Buddha may appear in many forms. And another thing is that it is, of course, in other words, to save the world, serve the world, serve the others. Nirmanakaya is meant. So Vinyati Matra Siddhi says that Nirmanakaya is meant for Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, Prutajjanas, common men, and Bodhisattvas. I think we should go quickly. Sambhogakaya. So Sambhogakaya is another complicated point actually in this doctrine. How Sambhogakaya is working, and it says that in general, Sambhogakaya is the body of enjoyment. It means that Buddha with these qualities like 32 marks, 80 minor marks, and his brilliance, light, and then possessing the Dhamma and preaching, existence with the bliss of the attaining is called Sambhogakaya. For example, it is says that Pure Land concept in Mahayana tradition very popular. Like nowadays, much prevalent is that Pure Land, Western Pure Land Buddhism. It means Sukhavati viewer tradition, which is live in the Chinese world. So that Buddha, in the Western Pure Land, the Buddha is the Amitabha Buddha. So then Amitabha Buddha is an example for the Sambhogakaya. It means he became the Buddha many, many years ago, but he still remains teaching the Dhamma for the Bodhisattvas or higher beings. So that cannot be perceived by us, ordinary people like us. It is only for high developed beings who are born in that Buddha land. So there are many Buddhas like that. I think Akshobhya Vibha Sutra says Buddha Akshobhya is also in a pure land. Like every direction, there are pure lands. So the Buddhas living in the pure lands is the state of Sambhogakaya. So that body is to also, it expresses Buddha in its full color, or its full function, means beautiful and how to say, the wisdom is expressed. So that is the Sambhogakaya. And it is, Sambhogakaya has two another is that is for the serving for the others, and another one is Swasambhogakaya. It means Buddha enjoys that state of the attaining Buddhahood. And other is Parasambhogakaya, means for the others. It means like Bodhisattvas to teach. Yeah, he uses the Sambhogakaya. How I stop? No, I can. Huh? Please. Okay.
Dhammakaya.
Okay. Time is not enough. Huh? So Dharmakaya is the last. The Dharmakaya, the fundamental meaning is actually what the Buddha realized. Dharma is the collection of the teaching, is the Dharmakaya. But from this, it transforms into finally the universal source of everything. All the phenomena, mental and physical, arise from Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya is equal to Tatatha, reality. So actually this has to bring from the Paticcasamuppada, because Paticcasamuppada gives the sense that, as I started, what it exists in the universe is the Paticcasamuppada. So then in the Paticcasamuppada, both potential to attain Nibbana and to remain in the samsara exist. So Dharmakaya is understood in that sense. Dharmakaya is both actual and potential source of the universe. That is the last idea, ontological explanation given to Dharmakaya. And there are many words of it, but essence is that it becomes the, because of the Dharmakaya, other two bodies exist. Because Dharmakaya, when it expresses in the phenomena, so normal phenomena, it becomes Nirmanakaya. And not only the Buddha's Nirmanakaya, finally it becomes everything in the universe. All the phenomena which are subject to change, to be corrupted or whatever. But the Sambhogakaya is in between Dharmakaya. It is not the Dharmakaya, but it is still needs some physical base. So it cannot become the Dharmakaya. So it is in the between. But Sambhogakaya, on the other hand, it expresses the Buddha's realization, actualize the human potential as the being we can how to say that, realize the truth. So Sambhogakaya is another expression. So then Dharmakaya finally become the source for both Nirmanakaya. When it is enlightened, not enlightened, it is like Nirmanakaya. When it is enlightened, it expresses through the Sambhogakaya. Buddha expresses his wisdom and the beauty of the body and everything. But all these are rooted in the Dharmakaya. This is the final idea of the Trikaya doctrine. It means this is one is a Buddhological development. On the other hand, in Buddhist tradition, some ontological theory is produced related to the Buddhakaya concept or three-body concept. Thank you. Any question?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question.
No, Professor first. Oh, question and answer first. Whatever it is, okay for me.
I want to ask, is it correct to say that the next Buddha should be born in India and also got entertained under the Bodhi tree?
Entertainment,
Got like
enlightenment.
under the Bodhi tree.
Uh,
Born in India and
Just left that mic.
enlightenment on under the Bodhi tree.
Actually, there is in the textual ideas that Buddhas appear in the Jambudvipa. So it is Dhammata. It is Dhammata, so we can't change it.
Because the mother is also the same. True.
No, I think these things we can take slightly and we can joke actually. So perhaps we can interpret it means there should be sufficient conditions to arise a Buddha. So that place, whether it is India or USA or Sri Lanka, I don't know. But Buddhism talks about causes and conditions. So then, if I think there are sufficient conditions in any place, I think that can be the India. Okay. Bodhi tree does not mean one tree. Not nowadays we call that, I don't know in English.
Aswata.
Yeah, Asatru, but in the history, many 28 Buddhas concept we have in current society. So then different Buddhas has different trees, but it means some silent place should be there. Okay. In Tibetan tradition, but I have not studied Tibetan tradition, but when I study this topic, it says finally it becomes Adi Buddha also the Dharma.
And,
Not a person.
in Buddhism, all become Buddha, right?
Sorry?
In Mahayana Buddhism,
Yeah.
all being at the end you become Buddha.
Yeah, Samma Sambuddha.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it means that he merged as one with the Buddha or separate.
It says that individually this different, but the Dharmakaya of all the Buddhas is the same. So then we think it is a highly metaphysical perspective, I think. It says Dharmakaya is the same. So then we all become one.
Almost like
This is-
Hinduism.
Actually, D.T. Suzuki, I think Professor knows, he wrote outlines of Mahayana Buddhism. Early scholars who research about this Trikaya doctrine, they always have compared this has been influenced by Hinduism. Trikaya itself, they say similar to Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. But I don't know actually. I can't say about that because it's not right.
It's true, but last night I read Pattasu in Kelaniya that there is the story about who to conversation, have conversation with Buddha, and they obsessed with the body of the Buddha. They want to see the in Thaiของมหาปุริสลักษณะ my question is why in Buddha time, Brahmanic Buddha time, obsessed with the body of the Buddha? And is there any connection to the doctrine of the avatar in the concept?
Actually, I can't say to the avatar concept because I'm not familiar with that. So that part I can't answer because these things. But that regarding the Buddha's body, actually there are several references. People were interested about to see whether the actual Buddha had all the 32 marks. So as I told you that in the story, when the young ascetic met the Buddha, he couldn't recognize the Buddha. That was very ordinary. So it means maybe that Brahmins, actually these ideas, they, you know that Asita, I think, examined the Prince Siddhartha and said two possibilities. After seeing these marks, he gave this prediction. So it means it is, I think that these marks, I don't know whether existed or not, but as this evidence or these discussions go on, it should be examined in very subtly, carefully, and then only maybe they can find it. I don't know. So therefore, Brahmins maybe were very interested in that because they had this concept, Mahapurusha. It is not we started.
ในความสงสัยอาจารย์ผมมาช่วยแทนนิดนึง ก็ผมสงสัยว่าทำไมพราหมณ์เขาเหมือนกับหมกมุ่นกับเรื่องความเชื่อเรื่องลักษณะมหาบุรุษของพระพุทธเจ้าหรือว่าไอ้ความคิดแบบนี้ตอนหลังมันพัฒนาการเป็นความคิดเรื่องอวตารในฮินดูยุคถัดมาของพระพุทธเจ้าหรือเปล่า
They are not avatars.
He asked why the Brahmin in that at that time so focused on the
Mark of the
mark,
Buddha Lakshana.
Buddha
Maybe
Lakshana.
they want to confirm because I think the concept of the Buddha, I think had existed in India. The Buddhism itself says that Pannaloka, etc. we refer to so. So if it is the fact, so then this means Indian society is familiar with it because they might have maintained this knowledge for some period. Because actually it is said these ideas, karma, nirvana, existed very long ago. Even the Brahmins came to India.
And he have some doubt.
So
idea
this
become
knowledge
avatara.
they had knowledge.
Yeah.
But avatar is different. Right? Avatar comes from one word. Right? It is not that. It's different. Mahapurusha Lakshana, not only the Buddha, but also the Chakravarti Raja. Great name. Okay.
Yeah. มาอยู่ตรงนี้
In Sri Lanka is a Theravada, and what is the turning point that you interested in the Mahayana?
Sri Lanka had been always very interested in every traditions. Very simple. You know, I would say that there was a representative of our age. My teacher's teacher, Professor D.J. Kalupahana, he taught in Hawaii philosophy department, in Hawaii University philosophy department. He was well versed in Theravada tradition, but he edited Nagarjuna's Madhyamaka Karika, and it became worldwide accepted edition. Worldwide accepted edition. So in Sri Lankan universities, I don't know when it started, since long time Mahayana is a subject for us. More or less, we read the Mahayana Sutras, Saddharma Pundarika, Lalita Vistara, all those Madhyamika texts, Yogacara texts, even they are available in Sinhala, our own language. So we are not that exclusive. No Buddhist is exclusive, finally. Okay.
เชิญครับ
อยากให้อาจารย์คุณถามและแปลคำตอบ
อ๋อครับเลย
อยากจะเรียนถามว่าจริงๆในความคิดก็คือพระไตรปิฎกอ่ะส่วนหนึ่งก็คือเป็นเรื่องแบบเป็นเรื่องเป็นเอกสารหรือที่บันทึกข้อเท็จจริง แต่อีกส่วนหนึ่งมันก็คือเป็นกึ่งวรรณกรรมเพราะฉะนั้นก็จะมีเรื่องราวต่างๆ ที่เราไม่สามารถพิสูจน์ได้ว่าจริงหรือเปล่าอภินิหารหรือเรื่องราวอะไรมหาโพธิลักษณะของพระพุทธเจ้า ต่อมาเท่าที่ฟังทางเตก็คือว่าเรื่องราวต่างๆเนี่ยก็พัฒนาไปเป็นความเชื่อในเชิงมหายานอะไรมากมายแล้วก็เป็นหลายนิกายพิเศษแต่ละนิกายก็จะมีความเชื่อที่แตกต่างกันไปโดยไปรวมเข้ากับความเชื่อพื้นถิ่นด้วยทีนี้ในอยากจะถามคุณเตว่าที่มันเตเป็นพื้นฐานเราว่าที่ศิลปะแล้วก็ได้ไปศึกษายานในหลายที่ การที่เถรวาทที่เราเคยอ่านในพระไตรปิฎกแบบนี้มันนี่มันกลายเป็นมหายานหลายแบบบางทีแตกต่างไปเยอะเลยมันมีผลให้พระพุทธศาสนาเนี่ยมันเปลี่ยนไปเยอะจนเหมือนกับออกนอกความเป็นคำสอนของพระพุทธเจ้าหรือเปล่า
ถามยาวผมจะแปลยาวนะ
You answer.
She asked, as you are a Buddhist from Sri Lanka, and then you will learn a lot of Mahayana Buddhism from many places. And she asked whether the Trikaya in Bali, that we believe that this is the original source of Buddhism, essentially Theravada Buddhism, and when this idea developed into Mahayana Buddhism, are there any changes that we as Theravada Buddhism believe that this is the original one and Mahayana Buddhism is the other one? So she would like to know like this.
Actually, development of Mahayana is not something that happened suddenly. It had taken several centuries, I think. First, according to our chronology, after 200 years, from the 100 years after the Buddha's Parinibbana, first division arose in the Sangha society. And we believe that Mahasangika group was the seed of the Mahayana development. So it took, I think, to take the form of Mahayana. It became around, I think, first century or second century BC. It took from the Buddha's time. Several centuries. It's not a sudden appearance. Anything? I don't know whether.
Tripitaka has changed and
No, Tripitaka has not changed.
not changed, but Mahayana Buddhism they changed.
Mahayana developed actually based on some seeds of the Theravada tradition. They have developed.
Developed, not changed.
Not changed. They
Developed
because
and
one
changed.
thing is this. All the Buddhist traditions, of course, we can talk Trikaya and those Western paradise, all those things, but finally, nobody denies
And
Paticcasamuppada.
some belief mix up with the local belief.
No.
No.
It happened, for example, in China, when Buddhism went to China, at the beginning, they borrowed some concepts from Taoism mainly and from Confucianism. But it is, according to the Chinese Buddhist history, in the 5th century or 4th century AD, Kumarajiva, one Indian master, went to China and he examined the text and he saw, oh, Buddhism is mixed with Taoist and Confucian ideas. And he removed all these ideas, words. Like, for example, well-known example is emptiness. Shunyata, Mahayana preaching. Now, Shunyata. Shunyata was translated as nothingness. It means they thought that it's emptiness. What is discussed in Buddhism and nothingness which is discussed in Taoism is the same ontological explanation. But their nothingness means nothing. But out the sunyata is not nothing. So he corrected. He removed that word. Before they use, I think, u, the word u means no. But later, Kumarajiva used the kong, kongshu.
Yeah.
So finally, it is says he finally confirmed that Chinese Buddhism is equal to Indian Buddhism. Not allowed to spoil the essence of Buddhism. It did not happen, I think.
ครับตอบให้แปลที่ท่านตอบนะครับแปลก็คือผมถามว่าพุทธศาสนาที่จากเทรวาสที่มีในพระไตรปิฎกเนี่ยมันเปลี่ยนไปเยอะไหมในมหายานท่านตอบว่าท่านไม่ใช้คำว่าชีวิตท่านใช้คำว่า develop คือพัฒนาไม่ได้เปลี่ยนแล้วก็ความหมายของท่านคือว่าพัฒนานี่หมายความว่าที่ประเทศจีนมันก็เอายกตัวอย่างเช่นประเทศจีนพัฒนามหายานความคิดของเทรวาสเช่นความคิดเรื่องสุญญตาแต่ผมก็ถามว่าถ้ามันไปผสมกับความเชื่อท้องถิ่นแล้วมันเปลี่ยนไปเยอะไหมท่านก็บอกว่าที่จริงเนี่ยมันก็ไปผสมแต่ว่าก็ยังรักษาความเป็นพุทธไว้ได้ยกตัวอย่างเช่นที่เมืองจีนไปผสมกับลัทธิเต๋าแล้วก็คงจื้อเวลาที่มาแปลคำสอนของพุทธศาสนาเช่นคำว่าสุญญตาเวลาแปลเป็นภาษาจีนซึ่งท่านก็รู้ภาษาจีนนะท่านบอกว่าอาจจะแปลว่า nothingness คือความไม่มีอะไรภาษาจีนผมไม่แน่ใจน่าจะเป็นปูหรือไม่ปูเป็นนี้ปรากฏว่าท่านนักแปลคือท่านกุมารชีพซึ่งก็เป็นนักแปลพุทธศาสนาคำพีพุทธศาสนาจากภาษาสันสกฤตเป็นภาษาจีนนะครับที่ยิ่งใหญ่มากยอมรับกันแล้วก็มาแก้คำแปลจากปูเนี่ยให้มาเป็นคงนะสุญญตาก็เช่นเรื่องไส้อิ๋วที่มีหมอคงนั่นก็คงนั่นคือสุญญตาเป็นตัวแทนสุญญตาประมาณนั้นเท่าที่ผมไม่รู้ภาษาจีนที่ผมจะไม่อ่านเอาเนี่ยก็ไม่จะประมาณนั้น
ขออนุญาตถาม
I have to add one more idea.
กุมารชีพนี่ที่ว่าเดินทางไปจีนตอนท่านกุมารชีพนี่ตอนนั้นในอินเดียท่านก็เป็นมหายานใช่ไหมคะ
She asked whether Kumaraji was Mahayanist. Yes,
He's Madhyamika.
Yeah.
Madhyamika philosophy. Actually, I have had three more words regarding that. Madhyamika tradition is the actual philosophical theory of Mahayana Buddhism, named Shunyata. Then there is one argument, actually, and even Nagarjuna quotes from the Sanyutta Nikaya. There is that Achayana Sutta again.
Kachayana Kota Sutta.
Yes. In the Mula Madhyamika Karika, it says Katyayana Vade. Buddha mentioned that there are two views, that is Atita and Natita, exist or non-exist. But Buddha preaches Dhamma, Madhyena Dhamma, in the middle, without veering towards any either annihilation or eternalism. Buddha talks about ontological middle. So that is the causal conditioning is the middle. So the whole Madhyamika is based on this. The emptiness idea is based on the causal conditioning. So and like Kalupahana, they interpret actually Madhyamika is based on early Buddhism. And some people say, okay, what developed in I think in Tiantai tradition was say Tiantai tradition, etc. Of course, the name is something like Mahayana, but in practice, totally early Buddhist. So I can't say any tradition has betrayed the essence of us.
ก็เป็นข้อมูลว่าจริงๆแล้วเนี่ยมหายานแบบเทรวาสจริงๆก็เป็นมาจากเดียวกันนั่นแหละแล้วก็เวลาที่ปฏิบัติในใกล้เคียงกันแล้วก็ความคิดก็เหมือนกันอันเดิมเพียงแต่ว่าคำศัพท์ที่ใช้อาจจะแตกต่างกันบ้างแล้วก็บางครั้งท่านยกตัวอย่างของสำนักมาเจมิกะ ก็คือสำนักท่านนาคราชุนซึ่งอาจารย์ของท่านที่ท่านยกมาก็คือเดวิดเจวันุปหารนะซึ่งตีความว่าคำสอนหรือว่าท่านนาคราชุนเนี่ยเบสออนหรือว่ามาจากคำพีร์ชื่อกัจจายนะโคตสูตรซึ่งมันมีคำว่าอัตติตาและนัตติตาซึ่งแปลว่าความมีกับความไม่มีแล้วก็พระพุทธเจ้าสอนมัชฌิสนธรรมก็คือธรรมที่อยู่ตรงกลางเพราะนั้นก็เป็นชื่อเป็นความคิดที่บอกว่าจริงๆแล้วพระพุทธเจ้าก็ไม่ได้คล้องแวะทั้งสองส่วนแต่ท่านจะอยู่สายกลางก็เลยกลายเป็นสมมาตรมัชฌิมนิกายซึ่งก็อันนี้ท่านตอบอย่างนี้ผมไม่แน่ใจว่าท่านพอจะจับใจความได้หรือเปล่านะครับผมว่าเวลาเราน่าจะใกล้เคียงน่าจะตอนนี้น่าจะผมบันทึกมานี่ก็ชั่วโมงกว่านะคิดว่าคงจะน่าจะมีคำถามหลายท่านอยากจะถามเพิ่มเติมแต่ต้องขอว่าไปเวลาเนื่องจากว่าท่านก็จะเป็นguest speaker ของพวกเราอยู่เรื่อยๆนะครับท่านก็มาร่วมงานกับผมกับท่านดร.อุเทนแล้วก็กับทางศิลปากรอยู่เรื่อยๆถ้าหากว่าอยากจะสอบถามหรืออยากจะฟังท่านบรรยายเป็นกรณีพิเศษนะครับผมก็อาจจะจัดออนไลน์ให้ท่านเฉพาะนะครับแต่ส่วนใหญ่ก็ท่านมาเวลาบอกเวลาท่านก็เตรียมมาเยอะมากเลยนะแต่ว่าเวลาน้อยก็ขออภัยด้วยหรือมีความคิดอยากจะสอบถามที่อยากจะศึกษารายละเอียดลึกซึ้งซึ่งจริงๆผมก็จะขอสรุปเดี๋ยวไม่ได้สรุปเลยถามกันจนได้ครบหมดคือผมขอสรุปเรื่องตรีกายนะครับคำสอนเรื่องตรีกายในพุทธศาสนานี่ก็ท่านก็มาบรรยายให้ว่าจริงๆแล้วตรีกายนี่มีอยู่สามกายของพระพุทธเจ้ามีอยู่สามอย่างคือนิรมานกายสัมโภคกายแล้วก็ธรรมกายนะฮะบ้านเรานี่ธรรมกายนี่มีชื่อเสียงมากนะครับแต่ว่าน่าจะเป็นคนละธรรมกายแบบที่ท่านพูดนะครับท่านบอกว่าเรื่องทั้งหมดเนี่ยนะครับก็มาจากมหาปรินิพพานสูตรซึ่งเทรวาสกับมหายานนี่ตีความแตกต่างกันแล้วก็ความคิดก็พัฒนามาตั้งแต่ตอนพระเจ้าปรินิพพานเนื่องจากว่าคนทั่วไปหลังจากพระเจ้าปรินิพพานเทรวาสเราก็คิดว่าพระเจ้าเป็นมนุษย์ธรรมดาแต่พอพระเจ้าปรินิพพานแล้วเราก็เหงาครับไม่มีที่พึ่งพอพุทธหายเหลือแต่พระธรรมพระสงฆ์ก็ยังพอเห็นอยู่นะครับเพราะนั้นแล้วคนสมัยนั้นก็เลยคิดว่ามันมีอะไรที่จะมาทดแทนพระเจ้าได้หรือเปล่าก็เลยพยายามที่จะคิดเรื่องกายของพระเจ้าขึ้นมาเพื่อปลอบโยนตัวเองว่าพระเจ้าเนี่ยยังอยู่กับพวกเราตลอดกาลนะครับบุตรremains forever เพราะนั้นความคิดเรื่องธรรมกายก็เริ่มเกิดขึ้นมานะครับนอกจากรูปกายของพระเจ้าเองเนี่ยแล้วนะครับซึ่งท่านปรินิพพานไปแล้วคำสอนเรื่องอนัตตาเนี่ยฟังดูในเทรวาสเราฟังดูดีนะแต่มันค่อนข้างจะเป็นเนกาทีฟครับอนัตตาคือไม่มีตัวตนนะพระเจ้าไปไหนเนี่ยมันเป็นอนัตตาแต่พอคำสอนเรื่องธรรมกายคำว่าธรรมกายมันค่อนข้างจะโพสิทีฟคือมันก็ดูมันชื่นใจดีดังนั้นพอฟังว่าพระเจ้ามีธรรมกายไม่ใช่อนัตตามันก็ดูเราก็จะอุ่นใจว่าพระเจ้ายังอยู่กับเราดังนั้นก็คนที่พัฒนาเรื่องนี้ไม่ใช่พระมันเป็นชาวบ้านที่หลังจากที่พระเจ้านิพพานก็รู้สึกอยากจะมีผู้ปลอบโยนดังนั้นก็ไปหาคำสอนที่จะทำให้เรารู้สึกว่ามีพระเจ้าอยู่กับเราอยู่ตลอดมีคำสอนหนึ่งที่ท่านยกขึ้นมาก็คือโยโกวัคคิธัมมังปัสติโสมังปัสติท่านสอนพระวัคคินะครับพระวัคคินี่ท่านรู้สึกว่าจะตีความกันว่าท่านเป็น LGBT เพราะว่าท่านชื่นชอบพุทธเจ้าแต่อันนี้ก็เราก็ไม่ทราบนะครับแต่ว่าบอกว่าในคำสอนที่บอกว่าผู้ใดเห็นธรรมผู้นั้นเห็นเราเพราะฉะนั้นถ้าอยากเห็นพระเจ้าก็ต้องเห็นธรรมตัวนั้นก็พัฒนามาเป็นธรรมกายนะดังนั้นก็พอมาพูดถึงเรื่องนี้พัฒนามาเรื่อย รื่อยๆนะครับก็จริงๆแล้วตามคำสอนของพุทธเจ้าจริงๆในพระไตรปิฎกนะครับพระไตรปิฎกเรื่องความรู้หรือเรื่องญาณสามเนี่ยก็จะมีแค่สามก็คืออุเปนิวาสานุสติญาณคือปุปปาตญาณแล้วก็อาสวัคคยญาณซึ่งท่านก็ยกมาว่าคำสอนว่าพระพุทธเจ้าตรัสรู้ก็มีอยู่เท่านี้แต่ว่ามันมีอีกสูตรหนึ่งนะครับที่บอกว่าอุปาทาวาตถาคตานังอนุปาทาวาตถาคตานังธรรมติตตาธรรมนิยามตาคือพระพุทธเจ้าจะเกิดหรือไม่เกิดก็ตามตถาคตจะอยู่หรือไม่อยู่ก็ตามแต่มีสิ่งหนึ่งซึ่งอยู่กับพวกเราอย่างแน่นอนก็คือธรรมชาติหรือกฎธรรมะธรรมนิยามหรือธรรมติตตาดังนั้นอันนี้ก็ตีความว่านี่คือธรรมกายหรือธรรมธาตุที่อยู่กับพระพุทธเจ้าที่อยู่กับพวกเราก็แทนพระพุทธเจ้าก็คือตัวพระพุทธเจ้าก็มีความคิดก็แบบนี้ก็พัฒนามาเรื่อยๆนะครับแล้วก็พูดถึงท่านพูดถึงเรื่องมหาปุริสลักษณะนี่ไม่ใช่เราก็ถามกันแล้วนะก็คงไม่ต้องย้ำอีกทีแล้วก็ท่านบอกว่าในยุคหลวงพ่อเจ้าประเทศไทยประมาณ500 ถึง 600 ปีนะ700 ปีนะครับนาคราชุนเลยนะครับท่านนาคราชุนก็ในคำสอนของท่านก็ยังมีแค่รูปกายกับธรรมกายยังไม่มีนิรมานกายแต่ว่านิรมานกายนี่มาพัฒนามาทีหลังนะครับแต่ว่านิรมานกายเนี่ยเห็นท่านบอกว่าปรากฏครั้งแรกอยู่ในคัมภีร์วริตวิสระดังนั้นก็จะเป็นคำสอนที่เกิดขึ้นภายหลังแน่นอนนะครับนิรมานกายก็คือกายที่พระเจ้าสามารถจะเนรมิตกายเนรมิตเป็นอะไรก็ได้ตามแต่สรรพสัตว์อยากจะให้เป็นถ้าเปรียบเทียบทางความเชื่อแบบคนจีนก็เทพไฉสิงเอี้ยอะไรประมาณนี้นะครับอยากจะให้เป็นใช่ไหมหรือเป็นอะไรนะเป็นพระว่าพระอะไรไม่รู้แต่คือเพราะไอ้จีนผมก็ไม่ค่อยชำนาญนะครับก็เลยบอกว่าเนี่ยคือนิรมานกายท่านก็สามารถเนรมิตได้เป็นเลยแต่ทางมหายานท่านก็พัฒนาทีนี้อีกกายสำคัญก็คือสัมโพกกายสัมโพกกายเนี่ยมนุษย์เราธรรมดาคนทั่วไปไม่สามารถที่จะเห็นได้เพราะว่าคนที่จะเห็นได้ผู้ที่จะเห็นได้คือพระโพธิสัตว์ที่จะไปรอตรัสรู้นะครับก็คือท่านเล่าว่าคือดินแดนที่เรียกว่าสุขาวดีใครที่อยากจะไปเจอสัมโพกกายของพระพุทธเจ้าจะต้องอธิษฐานให้ไปเกิดที่ดินแดนสุขาวดีที่เพียวแรงนะครับที่อยู่ที่นั่นเนี่ยพระโพธิสัตว์ทั้งหมดจะเสมอกันเป็นเพียวแรงทุกท่านเป็นบริสุทธิ์หมดพอมาฟังสัมโพกกายซึ่งก็คือพระพุทธเจ้าเทศนาสัมโพกกายนี่คือ body of Bodhisattva teaching body สัมโพกกาย
preaching for the
เนี่ย
Bodhisattva
ก็สอนพระโพธิสัตว์ที่อยู่ที่สวรรค์ที่เรียกว่าสุขาวดีแดนสุขาวดีแล้วก็คนที่อยู่แดนสุขาวดีก็จะบรรลุไปหมดเลยนะครับนี่คือสัมโพกกายส่วนธรรมกายก็แน่นอนนะครับทุกท่านก็เข้าใจตรงกันนะธรรมกายก็คือธรรมะในที่นี้ก็คือซัชเมตหรือตถาตาแล้วก็หรือเป็นปฏิจจสมุปบาทแล้วสรุปว่านี่คือ source of the universe นะครับธรรมกายนี่คือเป็นทุกสิ่งทุกอย่างในโลกในจักรวาลนี่คล้ายๆกับปรมาตมันของทางฮินดูแต่ว่าที่แตกต่างกันก็คือปรมาตมันของฮินดูเนี่ยจะเป็นนิตยมเป็นของอยู่อย่างนั้นมั่นคงแน่นอนไม่เปลี่ยนแปลงแต่ว่าธรรมกายของพุทธศาสนาก็ยังคอนเซ็ปต์เป็นอนิจจังทุกขังอนัตตาอยู่ที่แตกต่างกันอันนี้คือที่ผมสรุปได้แล้วก็คำถามที่ท่านถามมาผมก็ถามแล้วก็แปลให้แล้วก็ขอบคุณทุกท่านนะครับที่มาร่วมฟังแล้วก็ได้ตั้งคำถามแล้วก็ทั้งทางออนไลน์ทางบ้านด้วยนะครับตอนนี้ก็ผมก็น่าจะจบลงการจบการ special lecture วันนี้เท่านี้เดี๋ยวเราจะมีของถวายท่านคุณแดงน้อยเชิญครับmay I request Professor Gila Dr.
เรียนเชิญอาจารย์เพชรโชนค่ะมอบของที่ระลึกให้ถวายมาถวายหน่อพันธุ์
พิษแต่สว่างไปได้
ขออนุญาตเรียนเชิญทุกท่านภาพร่วมกันนะคะ May I invite for the group photo please everyone please join the group photo เรียนเชิญทุกท่านเลยนะคะ
เชิญทุกท่านเลยสองหนูสิวัน
เรียนเชิญทุกท่านเลยนะคะ
มาเรียนสันสกฤตเลยนะครับรู้ตั้งแต่เด็กพวกแปดขวบ
พวกเนี้จะเป็น professor ที่
ที่เนี่ยน่าเลย
อนุรักษ์ครับ
อ่า
สวรรค์แบบมาเดือนนี้ลูก
ได้ครับโอเคอ้าวแล้วป้องแล้วครับจับเส้นเดี๋ยวตามที่ยาวขึ้นคุณแจ็คน้อยถ่ายให้ผมด้วยครับได้ครับเชิญฟังเสร็จครับผมยืนข้างหลังได้ขอบคุณครับทุกท่านครับชื่อครับขอบคุณครับ
Okay. See you next time.
You go to Sri Lanka.
Really?
Where you stay?
I stay in Colombo. In
Colombo.
Yeah. We are going there. Oh, this is
Many place. Colombo, Anuradhapura, or
ancient city.
can be every place.
Please visit my place also.
Well, maybe. So I asked you what was in China.
I live in Colombo and I have my temple in South Street.
เดี๋ยวขอปิดนะครับ
Close to West